Hello, my name is Jenna Bath, and I'll be presenting with Kelvin Clark and Hayes Herring about our PC part compatibility chatbot.
So for our user study, we introduced the users to our design concept and showed them how the bot would work. So both of them had pretty different things to say. So for our first user, one positive thing that they mentioned is that they liked how the chat bot was more understandable for people that didn't really know much things about computers. And a negative that they had was they didn't like the color scheme. They um, they said the color scheme was a light theme, and most people who were buying the PC parts they like a darker theme, which we're probably going to change. Um, they suggested that we change the primary design to a dark theme, and we ended up doing this ultimately. So for our second user, they praised the alert system that the bot would bring up when looking for PC parts. However, a negative that they had was that they saw in our design that there was a lack of delay between the bot and the user. How like the three bubbles would come up saying that the bot is probably thinking or typing about what it's going to say. So they thought that was weird that it wasn't in the design. But what user two suggested was that we have like a microphone or a chat bot item or icon at the bottom of the screen, so that if the user was using this app, and if they didn't want to use a chatbot for whatever reason, it would make it optional instead of mandatory.
This is going to be our prototype. So the user can start chat with the chatbot by using the lower input field that you see on the bottom to answer any questions they have. And you can go back to the basic PC part picker website by clicking the back button at the top. And you can view your parts with the part list button at the top right. The user can start by saying, what is the CPU clearance in this Ghost S1 case?
And the bot will respond by saying that the Ghost S1 case has a CPU clearance of a height of 67 millimeters, and any cooler that is exactly 67 millimeters or lower can fit inside this case.
How many hard drives can I fit in the Ghost S1?
And they'll reply by saying it's impossible to fit 3.5-inch hard drives in the case. The only compatible drives are 2.5-inch hard drives and solid state drives, and it can fit up to two of those.
I would like to find a build of an ITX case that can hold up to 3 and supports my CPU cooler of choice being the NHU12A.
So I also wanted to mention while the chat was going on, as the user enters their input, the chat will continue to scroll up, continue to scroll up, as well as let the user know when the bot is responding with a chat bubble containing three dots. This indicates that the chat's progressing between the user and the bot.
This is the continuation of the chat, and as it continues, the bot recommends this.
The bot says, "Okay, I'll put together a few options that suits your needs." And one of the top-rated cases that also fits your needs is the NR200P, which is now back in stock. It fits your CPU cooler of choice and provides up to three 2.5-inch drives. The option is shown below. To add it to your list, click the green button. To look at another option, click the red button.
Oh, whoops. So the user can accept the recommendation and add it to their list by clicking the green button, and they can deny it and ask for more recommendations by clicking the red button.
And the user will continue to chat with the bot and will be prompted with the two decisions as mentioned before. But what makes these good signifiers is that the chat will pause and the user can't continue unless a choice is actually made.
After clicking the part list button, the user is shown the part recommendations they have accepted from the chatbot. The user can then see a product listing by clicking on the buy button.
And the familiarity of green being related to positive, the user will know that they can press the green button to order what they need. Also, the chat bar at the bottom and the lack of the part list button indicates that the user is not in the main section of the chat anymore. So with the big back button at the top, they can click that once they're done here.
This is going to be our second interaction. And the user will start by saying, what parts would I need to build a computer?
A computer consists of a case, motherboard, CPU plus CPU cooler, RAM, hard drive, fans, and a power supply.
How do I determine which parts I need?
Your parts are determined by your needs, specific needs. If you are a gamer, a GPU is highly recommended. For casual use, a GPU isn't necessary. I'll provide you with a link to casual usage parts and or gamer parts.
I need a guide on how to actually put the casual usage parts together.
Here's a guide, and the bot will provide a hyperlink that the user can click on so they can continue off with what they were doing.
So here we have an example of a flowchart for our chatbot, and it's interacting with the user. So we'll start off by the user interacting with the chatbot, saying hello. What parts would I need to build such and such, and that are compatible with such and such. And the chatbot will either respond with there are no parts in our inventory for that device or that specific device. And the other side will say, we have such and such parts in our inventory for that device. And so going off based on the left side, it would end the if the user responded in, excuse me, the chatbot would respond, "Thank you for using PC Parts Picker," and then that would end the interaction. And then if the user did respond, "I would like to see if you have these parts in stock," the chatbot would say, "None of those parts are available. Anything else?" Or, "We have these amounts of parts in our inventory," and the user could either be like, "No, that is an end the interaction," or, "Can you please add this amount of parts to my cart?" And adding those parts to the cart would be part of the chatbot's job, or it would make it automatically add them to the cart. And the chatbot would ask if the user needed anything else, which then the user would say no, and that would also end the interaction. And then lastly, um, adding parts to your cart, anything else? No, that's all. Thank you for using chat PC parts picker, and then that would also end the interaction. So we just came up with a diagram or a flow chart that basically showed the different interactions and responses that the chatbot could give. And then the design goals. So our first goals were have users find compatible parts without having to search for them. To help users understand compatibility of parts with the computers. Instant responses to users from chatbots with description of parts and a compatibility list. And then lastly, notify users when a specific part that was recently searched is available as well as the quantity left. And then our task would be to help users or have users must search for a specific part using this chatbot and must know if the part is compatible or not with their device. And then also users must write a response to the chatbot after searching for their part and describe their experience. So for persona one, we have Kyle. He's 14. He's a student, likes gaming with friends, Monster Energy drinks, and programming small apps for his friends. And his goal is to build his own computer so he can run more games to play with his friends. Our second persona would be John. He's 74. He's a retired veteran and likes playing golf with his buddies, managing his stocks, and playing Sudoku. His goals would be that he wants to check how his stocks are doing, but his computer is not working.
So for our first storyboard, we have Kyle, and he thinks to himself, I want to build a computer that is better than my laptop. And then he goes onto Google trying to search on how do I get started on building a new computer. He finds our PC part compatibility chatbot, and the chat continues with, what can I do for you? Kyle asks, I'm looking for a case that works with water cooling. I want it to be white. And the bot suggests a case below. He then continues with the chatbot, and it goes and gets all his parts, and he's able to build his first computer. Our second storyboard features John. He realizes that he needs to replace his processor for his computer to work. So he goes onto Google to find something to help. He finds our PC part compatibility chatbot, and the bot opens with, what can I do for you? He tells the bot that he needs a new processor and what kind of computer he has, so the bot can find something compatible. The bot suggests something compatible, he buys it, and now his computer's working.
So for our the first user journey for our first persona, which was the Kyle, the teenager. So his background, as explained before, he's 14-year-old kid who loves computers and gaming. His goal is to obtain more information about how computers work and the various type of parts. So he already knows how to use one, but he wants to pretty much know the internals as well. So he's motivated to read about how to learn how to build computers. But something that frustrates him is that he has a hard time understanding the different sizes and parts that are used to build one. He notices that most build videos he watches, some of the parts look the same, but they actually they're shaped different or they look different, and this really frustrates him. So he's not really sure what to do. So he switches to our app to help him, and once he's done that, he's able to get some information. So to gather some information, he now starts to talk with our chatbot. He's looking for a computer case so he can start building his computer. So one of the first things he will say is, "What is the CPU clearance in this Ghost S1 case?" And then he'll reply by saying the Ghost S1 has a CPU clearance of 67 millimeters. Any cooler that is exactly 67 millimeters or lower can fit inside. And just like we showed before, he has his conversation with the bot, and after this exchange of information, he feels a little more optimistic about his build now that the bot has given him everything he needs to know. So he's finally ready to finalize his build, and once he goes through that exchange again, he will finally be satisfied enough knowing that he doesn't have to go through the struggles of building a computer again. So he will start his build and finally reach his ultimate goal. And for our second persona, we have the older gentleman who is 74 years old, who's more so of a handyman. So he's built things before, but he's never built a computer. So he doesn't really know how a computer works internally. He doesn't know about the parts. So that's one thing that confuses him a lot. So he will turn towards our app and he will start to use it. But we didn't, this conversation was included in the previous slide, so I'll read off of this one. So he will go ahead and ask, what parts do I need to build a computer? And it will reply by saying a computer consists of a case, motherboard, CPU plus CPU cooler, RAM, hard drive, fans, and a power supply. And once he goes through his exchange, he will begin to, well, once he clicks that hyperlink, as mentioned before in the previous slides, he will pretty much receive all the information he needs from there. And he'll prepare the building process. And once he's received enough information, he will finally be able to reach his goal as well.